Parents, do you ever wish you could put a tracking device on your teen? Well, one school in Connecticut may do it for you. The Willis Watchdogs bark about it next.
But you don't look ashamed, and baby, I'm not scared. I'm singing, follow me, everything is alright. I'll be the one to tuck you in at night, and if you want to leave, I can guarantee you won't find.
The top federal offshore drilling regulator says the temporary halt to deepwater drilling will remain in place for at least a few more months, and he will propose a replacement for the current moratorium for after it expires around Halloween. True enough, but Louisiana officials have pleaded for the end of the drilling ban. Time to let out the Willis Watchdogs. Andy Levy is an ombudsman.
Say it.
With Red Eye on the Fox News channel. I can't help myself. Colleen DeBase is a small business editor for the Wall Street Journal, and Mark Levine, a radio talk show host in D.C. Colleen, let's start with you. What is this going to mean? How long can we delay this?
Oh, I think the regulator is being prudent. I think this is the smart thing to do because we have to make sure these rigs are safe. We don't want
another. How long does it take? Come on.
We don't want another disaster to happen. I mean, look at the effects that the Gulf is still dealing with, not only the environmental damage, but all of these small fishing operations. The tourism industry has been wiped out. I think
and not drilling will definitely help that. Andy?
Yeah, I was going to say, look, it'd be one thing if the economy sucked and people needed jobs, but everything's going really well. So what's the big deal about this? Take your time, chill out.
Mark, what do you think about this?
Well, I've seen all the plans that the offshore drillers have given to the government, right? They all involve calling a dead scientist and looking out for walruses that don't happen to exist in the Gulf of Mexico. Look, the real problem here is there's a limit on their liability that Republicans don't want to lift. Make the companies actually pay for their damages, they'll be more careful.
Good point.
But if walruses aren't a problem anymore in the Gulf, then what's the issue here? Let's start up the drilling again.
All right. Ooh, you'd have a job representing one of these oil companies. Next story, the governor of Colorado is using $9 million from medical marijuana to help close the state's budget gap. A marijuana card costs $90 a year, and the state anticipates ending 2010 with 41,000 more users than last year. Mark?
Jerry, you and I have talked about this before. I love sin taxes. I love making medical marijuana legal. Heck, I'd make marijuana legal, tax it, and use the money to pay for all the health care we have to treat stoners. Makes perfect sense.
Colleen, what do you say?
Yeah, no, I agree with Mark. And I think, there are a lot of cash-strapped states and cities out there, and they're doing whatever they can to get money. And if this is one way, I think there's nothing wrong with it, particularly because the way this governor wants to get the money is by charging people to get to register for these medical marijuana cards. And I think it's only about $90 to get a card. That doesn't seem unreasonable to me, so I think this is fine.
Yeah, this is kind of a duh story, I guess. But I mean, unlike Mark, I don't like sin taxes. I'm okay with the sins, but I don't think it's the government's business to tax those sins. But look, you legalize drugs. I'm one of those weirdo libertarians that think it's an adult's business what he or she puts into his or her own body. Legalize drugs. Let honest, tax-paying businessmen make the profits off the drugs instead of gangs and drug lords, and it will stimulate the economy.
Wow.
But Andy, we have to tax it because we have to take care of the stoners, we taxpayers, when they go to the hospital, right?
No, they can take care of themselves.
No, they'll show up in our emergency rooms.
That's what America's all
What's next?
about.
Slippery slope, crack cocaine? You're going to legalize it all?
Honestly, yes. It's not the government's business what somebody decides to put into their own body.
Well,
wow.
Ouch. Okay, I don't agree, but then neither does Colleen. So I feel like
I said I was a weirdo libertarian.
Yes, you did. Thank you for and an ombudsman. All right, because Goldman Sachs does God's work, the CEO has won a charity swim-a-thon. I do not know what the connection between those two ideas are. It turns out Lloyd Blankfein has endurance swimming 134 laps in 1 hour. I can't imagine this. Andy, did you think he was in that good a shape?
Well, I think considering a lot of people probably wish he was swimming with the fishes, this is good for him. But here's my thing. It's like, I don't understand rich people who do things like this. Just give the money to charity. You can afford to give the money to charity. I mean, I guess if you look like that, maybe you need some charity yourself. But, it's one thing for middle-class people to participate in charity events and raise money. If you're filthy rich, don't swim. Just write a check.
Ah, okay. What do you think, Colleen?
Well, I have to say, I happened to be out in the Hamptons last weekend. I was at a different place, so I didn't get to see Mr. Goldman there doing his swim. But I did see a bunch of 10-year-olds doing this competition at a pool where someone threw in a bunch of pennies, and they all had to dive in and get the pennies off the bottom. I think that would be far more interesting to watch Lloyd, Blankfein, and maybe some of the other bankers do that game, right?
All right, Mark?
I think he'd be diving more for gold ingots. Look, we shouldn't be surprised that Lloyd Blankfein floats while the rest of the economy in the world sinks. This is what he's trained to do, right? Ruin everything and then just float right above it while we taxpayers fit the bill for him. Listen, I want to see this guy sink. I want to see him pay for the damage that he's caused the economy.
Wow, ouch. Okay, so 134 laps isn't enough, maybe 234. We want you to feel the pain.
Maybe a few months in jail might do the trick. We'll find out.
Wow, tough love there. Okay, next story. Reports out today that a small town in Connecticut may add tracking devices to students' IDs or even their backpacks or laptops. The school says student involvement would be voluntary and only with parents' permission. Colleen?
You know, between Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, I mean, I don't know. It seems like there's no privacy anymore. This, I think, is a little bit odd. I'm not sure why the school is doing it. I don't have a problem with parents trying to track where their kids are, especially their teenagers, but, you know, I don't know why the school would need to do this.
Yeah, if it's voluntary, I guess it's okay, but I agree with Colleen. I would still rather the parents decide to do it if they want to track their own kids. But here's the thing. You know some student's going to figure out a way to hack into these devices. And like you were saying, next thing you know, it's going to be all over Twitter or all over the blogs that Johnny and Sally were both in Johnny's mother's car for 2 hours last night. You know, why anyone would...
Couldn't you just leave the backpack in your locker? I
Well, yeah,
mean,
you could do that.
Do whatever you want to do.
Right, you could do that too. But why does the school have to do this?
Mark?
Well, Jerry, it's to prevent it from leaving in their locker, what they'll do is they'll next have imprints into the brain, right? I mean, this is a ridiculous idea. I have enough Big Brother in our lives. Look, if students are stupid enough to say wherever they are on Twitter and Facebook, that's their own problem. But look, if a kid's going to skip class, he's got to pay for it later on. I don't like this tracking. I don't like when the government does it. I don't like when the parents do it if they're not criminals.
We have a critically important story to get to. Talk about an expensive 15 minutes. Jersey Shore's The Situation, is reportedly taking home $5 million this year, and next year his paycheck could skyrocket to $10 million. It's not just the MTV hit. This guy's got a book coming out, endorsement deals, personal appearance fees, and get this, a reported spot on the upcoming season of Dancing with the Stars. Andy, are you jealous?
I'm not jealous, but you know, I mean,
Really?
okay, yes, I'm totally jealous. But you know what? Look, good for him for monetizing this. Boo on America for allowing this to happen. You know, I don't watch a Jersey Shore. It just seems idiotic to me. I don't understand how someone who can't read a book can write a book. That makes no sense to me. I'm not buying any vodka that this guy is you know, that they're using him to market it, and they're losing a lot of money by me not buying their vodka. So they may want to rethink this. But you know, good for him. If he can do it, hey, that's America.
Colleen?
I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah, you know, I think the only way my mind can accept this really is to think that, you know, this guy's got a limited run. He's not going to be famous
Forever?
next year.
Really?
No. So he's got to make the most of what he has while he can. I suppose one could say he's being pretty entrepreneurial in this. So
All right.
I guess it's okay.
Mark, what do you think?
Good for him, good for America. This is the one place on earth where Snooki can make millions of dollars being Snooki, and I say good for him. He's making about 1/10 of the salary of Lloyd Blankfein, and he does a lot less damage when you think about it.
All right, guys. Thanks, Andy, Colleen, and Mark. Great roundtable. Appreciate your time. Also, General Motors